Good morning, and we're in chapter 38. And this one kind of takes it out. We were just learning about his, Joseph's brothers selling him into Egypt to Potiphar. And now we're jumping to Judah. It's like, well, we started telling Joseph's story. We're going to tell a little bit about Judah, and then we're going to go back to Joseph. And there is a reason for this chapter, even though it's not covered in the Come Follow Me, and it's really not a nice chapter. But there is a point to it. There's a couple of points, actually, which I'll get to at the end. And we're just going to get reading it. And it's a fast read to me. And it came to pass that Judah went down from his brother and turned into a certain Aldumite, whose name was Hira. Just to let you know, I'm not going to go through a lot of the history or anything like that of this. I'm just going to leave it as it is and just read it today, because it's not a big thing in the scriptures. We want to get to the story of Joseph, but there are a couple of things in this to point out. And Judah saw a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her, and she conceived and bare a son, and his name was Er. Er is divine, I guess. And she conceived again, and she called his name Onan. Onan the barbarian? No, sorry, bad joke. And yet again she conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when he bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. I think there was what do we understand about what took place between Judah and Tamar? So we're going to find out a little bit, but we'll still read. The ancient Israelites followed a marriage custom that came to be known as Levite marriage. Levir is Latin for husband's brother. According to this customary law, a childless widow was entitled to marry her husband's next oldest brother or his closest living male relative. Children born in these Levite marriages would be raised on behalf of the woman's deceased husband, and were considered his children, not his living brothers. Not his living brothers. Levite marriages also secured the needed support for the widow and an inheritance within the family. After Tamar's two husbands, Judah's older sons, died, Judah promised her that his third son, Shelah, would be her husband. When he was grown, when Judah did not keep his promise, Tamar resorted to deception in order to conceive a child with Judah. Levite marriage customs would have allowed for Judah himself to marry Tamar if she could not marry any of his sons. Tamar likely knew that her actions would have serious consequences. When Judah directed that Tamar be burned after he learned that she was pregnant, Tamar used the signet, bracelets, and staff that Judah had given her as evidence that he was the father. Judah admitted his sin and declared, "She hath been more righteous than I." Tamar's life was spared, and she gave birth to twin sons. Through her son Pharez, Tamar would become the ancestor of Jesus Christ. So this is, again, going back to Jesus Christ, though, is a really weird and long-winded story. But we're going to read it anyway because it's in the reading. And I think it's one that is there and we should know about. And because of this, and what happens here is both weird. It also paints a certain picture of Judah, which isn't necessarily nice. But we'll go through it and we'll see what happens. We already know what happens because it just told us there. Also, if you think about Levite marriages, the Sadducees brought that up to Jesus about the wife that married one brother and then another, and until the last, and they try to say, well, whose wife is she? And that's when he says, in heaven they are married nor given in marriage, that sort of thing. They were trying to trip him up, and he just kind of threw it back at him and says, don't try to do this. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. Kind of drastic there, but he dies. I don't know what he dies of, but he wasn't a good person. And Judah said unto Onan, go into thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed unto thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass that he went in unto his brother's wife, and he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. Kind of graphic. The thing which he did displeased the Lord, therefore he slew him also. It seems interesting that they still say that it's the Lord slew him, the Lord was displeased. I think there's more to the story than that, but this is where they come up and they think, okay, this is what's happening. Then said Judah and to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And it came to pass, and in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up into the sheep shearers to Tamneth, and he and his friend Hira the Aldamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Tamneth to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself up, and sat in the open place which was by the way to Tamneth. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come unto thee. For he knew not she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave them to her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went out, and laid by her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adullamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but found her not. Then he asked the men in the place, saying, "Where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside?" And they said, "There was no harlot in this place." And he returned to Judah and said, "I can't find her." And also the men in the place said that there is no harlot in this place. And Judah said, "Let her take it to her, lest we be ashamed. Behold, I send this kid, and thou hast not found her." And it came to pass that 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, "Tamar thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom." And Judah said, "Bring her forth and let her be burned." It's really, I don't even want to get into what the different morals here are. Oh, Judah can do this, but if she's caught, she's in trouble. And her new unborn child. And when she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man whose are these, I am with child." And she said, "Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and the bracelets and the staff?" And Judah acknowledged them and said, "She hath been more righteous than I." One of the statements I think we can get out of this, he made choices, she made choices. They weren't great choices, but they were choices because he did not keep his, you might say he didn't keep his covenants, he didn't keep his promises to her, or in a way the Levite right marriages, which would have been a covenantal thing as well, in a way, and he did not keep those. And he knew her again no more, so he respected her after that, I guess. And it came to pass that in the time of her travail, that behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass, this is again interesting, when she travailed, the one put his hand, and the midwife took around his hand in a scarlet thread, saying, "This came out first." And it came to pass that he withdrew his hand, and behold, his brother came out, and she said, "How hast thou broken forth this breach upon thee?" Therefore his name was Pharez. And afterward came his brother that had a scarlet thread upon his hands, and his name was called Zara. So if you think about how that just came, one was supposed to come out first, Zara, but didn't. It was Pharez. I just put a little note here. Pharez means to breach, rupture, or burst forth. And Zara means rising, shining, or dawning. Just to give you an idea of what their names mean as well. So this is a weird story, but Pharez is where the line comes in that Jesus is born into. So it's not a great start, but it does have that. The second part of what we can learn is in chapter 39, because you can see what Judah is acting like, and he's not being the most wonderful person in the world. And now we've got Joseph that has almost a similar situation come up, and we'll see what happens. So Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard in Egypt, brought him out of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down hither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. So think about Joseph now. And the one thing that we'll see a few times is the Lord was with Joseph. Well, Judah and his sons were not prosperous. Joseph was. Even though he was sold into slavery, he's a slave. But look how the Lord prospers him anyway. Joseph could have said, oh, look, I've just been sold in here. I don't belong here. I should be, I'm the firstborn of my mother, and I deserve better. But he doesn't. He works. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all that he did prosper at his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, in Potiphar's sight, and he served him and made him overseer over his house, that he put into his hand, all that he had put into his hand. It's the way they write sometimes is weird, but basically Potiphar gave him full reign of his house. And it came to pass that from the time that he had made him overseer of his house over all that he had, the Lord had blessed the Egyptian's house of Joseph for Joseph's sake. And the blessings of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So Joseph was very good at handling the house, so much that Potiphar said, you handle it. I'm just going to do what I do. Because I don't need to know all that. I know that you will be trustworthy. And it came to pass that after these things, that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, lie with me. Can you kind of see how these are juxtaposed between Judah and Joseph already? And I put in gray those things that shouldn't have been used. And also, I think we'll see more of what she says and what she does is wrong. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth, which means knoweth not, what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath unto my hand. He's saying, I've got everything possible, and there is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. He's putting her in her place, saying, listen, you keep your distance. How then do I do this great wickedness and sin against God? I think this is important. He's saying, look at all that I've been given, but then he points out the wickedness is sinning against God. And he has his mind focused on what is important and what it's not just a house. He could have been in dire poverty, and yet he would have probably used the same words. And it came to pass that as she spake to Joseph day by day, he hearkened not unto her to lie with her or to be with her. Basically, she's trying to flirt with him, and he's having none of it. He's saying, you know what, I'll go work over here, you work over there. I don't want to be near you if you're going to be like that. And it came to pass that about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men in the house there within. Kind of suspicious already, isn't it? It's like, okay, where's everybody gone? And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And this is something that we learn time and time again in the church, is a lesson of, if you're in a situation, maybe you're on your phone or whatever, if you see something inappropriate, go away from that as soon as you can. Get away. Just get away. Don't wait to take your garment or something back. Just get out. And it came to pass that she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth. And she called unto the men of the house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. And notice what she said there. Use the term Hebrew and mock, basically slandering him, using the term derogatory. And he came in unto me to lie with me, a straight out lie. And I cried with a loud voice, which was a lie as well. And it came to pass that he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, and he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. Another lie. She is totally not, she's not a good person. And she laid up his garment by her until the Lord came, and she spake unto him according to these words. Again, using the word Hebrew and mock, saying, The Hebrew which thou broughtest in unto us came unto me and mocked me, to mock me. And it came to pass that I lifted up my voice and cried, and he left the garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass that when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, his wrath was kindled. So she knew what buttons to press. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison. This has got to be one of the worst things. He's going from being really in a high place. Now he is in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy. Remember, we talked about it at the beginning, Come Follow Me, this week, that the Lord was with Joseph. That is the thing, is he went from a high position to probably the lowest position that you can get to, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed Joseph's hand all prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. That doer is overseer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. I think it's important that we see that when he's doing the things that the Lord wants him to do, he is being prospered. But also put in mind where he is. He's still a prisoner. He's still not in a good place. But how can I put this? I don't want us to think that just because we're righteous, we're going to be prosperous as such, as, oh, we're going to be rich. in this situation, he's not rich. He has nothing to his name. He is in prison. But Lord says that he's still prospering him. We look to the Lord, and he is the one that makes the increase. Whether it's in a big opulent house or if it's in prison, we look to the Lord first. And we see the blessings that he gives us. It may not be in the way that we think it should be, but don't think just because we're made to prosper that we're going to have it easy. I hope you can see how Joseph is and emanate him in your lives no matter what your circumstances, rich or poor, bond or free. We are all part of the children of God, and he can be with us, and we'll see you tomorrow.